Ifra in Medina. She's saying that when people fall and they get slain, and ministers lay hands on them or point at them, is that the work of the Holy Spirit? Now,
the whole idea of people falling under the impulse of the Holy Spirit is something to be studied. I think I don't see a clear pattern of it in the biblical accounts. I don't see a clear pattern of it. Once in a while, people would encounter the awesome presence of God and they will fall down like Isaiah. You fall almost as dead. We can see Paul encountering Christ on the road to Damascus and falling down because of the light that he saw. John recounts his vision in the book of Revelation where he also fell. So you see that there are moments where people encounter God at a very profound level, and the glory of God is so much that they fall or they lose consciousness. But how that becomes a routine Christian activity is something we have to investigate and think through. Much as I believe there is an authorship of the Holy Spirit in some of these activities, I think they can also be broadened in a way where people feel they have to cooperate, and so they fall. In my early Christian life, in the 70s, we saw a lot of these things. I remember I was in a service where, and I was a young Christian, and everybody was falling, and people were laying hands, and people were falling. And generally looking at my personality, I just said, what is happening here? So I went to. It was my turn to go forward, and these guys laid hand on me, and I wasn't falling. So they tried, the best they could, and it didn't happen. I didn't fall. Now, I left the meeting wondering, am I resisting the Holy Spirit? Am I different? Am I less spiritual? How come people were falling and I didn't fall? So I didn't fall that time. But there was a particular meeting I went where I had determined not to fall, and before I realized I had fallen. So it's happened to me, I think, once or twice, and there was no cooperation on my part. In other words, I had no indication or no desire to fall, but it did happen. And then there were times that people tried to make it happen, and it didn't happen. Did it benefit me in any way? I remember when ICGZ was starting, there was a prayer meeting I was in on the 31st of December, 1983. And we were having a prayer meeting, and I felt an overwhelming presence of God, and nobody prayed for me. Before I realized I was down there, and literally unconscious for a bit, and came to, and that's when quite a lot of things became clear to me, and the church was birthed out of that. So yes, there are moments when these things happen. I wouldn't say that there are things that we should expect as a normal part of our Christian life, that almost at every meeting people fall. And I've seen people who would chase people around with their hands, walking around in circles, trying to get them to fall, for whatever purpose. And when the people get tired, they fall because they're tired. Or people are being pushed to the, and they bend backwards and they fall. The preacher should not desire for people to fall. Your desire should be to minister to people. If God moves in their lives in a profound way and it ends up with them falling, fine. But falling is not an indication, shouldn't even be an expectation. It should just be something that the Holy Spirit would do as He wills.